Hi, welcome back to another episode of Tape Time with Tom. My name is Chris.
I'm Kate.
And today we're going to be talking about
Barbenheimer.
We had a great time watching Barbenheimer on the day that that was Barbenheimer, July 21st. And we can't wait to talk about the day, how it came to be, and our own personal respective experiences for both movies. Let's hop to it. Barbenheimer, for those who are watching this from the future, who don't know what this is, surprisingly, this is when the coincidental release date of both Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan and Barbie from Greta Gerwig were both released on July 21st, 2023. This was as far as we know, an unintentional coincidence. I don't think Universal and Warner Brothers were trying to create like a firestorm of like consumerism and going to the theaters, but it kind of worked that way.
They're always trying to create a firestorm of consumerism, but yeah, I don't think this particular instance was on purpose. So.
But it kind of worked out because both movies are like super successful, super excellently well made.
Reminiscent of the summer blockbuster of our childhood.
It's a lot of fun bearing witness to this in real time, and we kind of wanted to jump on the bandwagon and kind of talk about it and experience it for our own selves. Because I know a lot of people who have logged it on Letterboxd, both that specific double feature is like in the millions. And then like box office wise, it's great. So Fast forward to July 21st. As we're driving back from the theater, Kate had the great idea. Is like, you know what? Let's hop in this bandwagon.
Yeah.
Let's watch Barbie tonight. And it's like, all right, we have like 2 hours with traffic to get home, and we got the next ticket basically available to come home, do a quick costume change more or less, and then leave. So that was fun.
Yeah, we watched it in an extreme version of the Barbie movie, so that was fun.
We went in there. I walked in holding 2 margaritas, and that was a great time.
I had the specialty Barbie cocktail that I don't remember what it was.
Oh, we'll have to remember. I'll put that on the screen and stuff.
Yeah, I just know it was pink.
Going back to Oppenheimer, we had a noon screening, and surprisingly, I was anticipating like it was going to be packed. Surprisingly, the theater was fairly empty. And this is a Friday. Not many people were there. Still working, I imagine.
Yeah, no, it was pretty desolate.
Yeah.
And
maybe 15, 20 people were in the screener. We were up front, and then one guy decided to sit right next to us, which just always happens.
But I know everyone wants to see the movie the way that they would like to see
center and up front as best as possible.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
But when there's not that many people, and then someone sits right next to you, it's kind of funny.
It's like parking next to a guy in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, there's like a million other spots.
It's like, okay, we're all gonna go on this experience together. Is how that turned out.
So. And then Barbie was the complete opposite because, backtrack, we watched Magic Mike's Last Dance in theaters, and that was the most cars I've ever seen in our local movie theater parking lot. Barbie was the second most cars in our movie theater parking lot. It was jam-packed. Everyone was there to see Barbie. Our theater was probably sold out. It was a vibrant time. It was freaking adorable seeing all the little kids going there and seeing Barbie. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was good vibes, and just everyone was happy and excited, and it was kind of this sense of joy to go see this movie, and people just wanted to experience it and have a good time. So it was nice. It was just a little bright spot, and it was good collective experience.
From what I heard from folks at work is that one of my coworkers' daughter, she saw it 4 times in theaters, which I get because she saw it with friends, and then she wanted to see it with other friends, and then she took her mom, and then she saw it with more friends. So I get it. It was a heck of a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun seeing people coming back to theaters. And I saw one article recently where they did a poll, and one in 4 Americans who saw Barbie hadn't been to the theater since COVID.
Wow.
Like that, it's by far, that's a movie that managed to drag a lot of people back to theaters. So props to Greta Gerwig.
Top Gun Maverick got people back in. It didn't.
Yeah.
It showed that theaters aren't dead, and then and Barbie revived it.
Yeah.
It
I think so.
Brought back the theater going experience, and in a way that was just very joyous and fun. So. And
that's not saying anything negative to Oppenheimer, because from one of the other recent articles I've seen is that just recently in the TLC, the Chinese theater in LA, Oppenheimer is the most successful movie there in like 97 years, profitable wise, which is insane. And I heard that they had to add 6 a.m. screenings because that's one of the few theaters in the country that's actually showing it in 70 millimeter IMAX. I wish we could have done that. The closest one is like in Pennsylvania, and I'm not driving 4 hours to go see a 3-hour movie. As much as I would like to, I'm not going to do that. Do we want to jump into our own personal reflections on each movie?
Sure, yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe we should focus. Do you want to talk about Oppenheimer, and then switch over to Barbie?
Yeah, let's talk about Oppenheimer first.
Okay.
Yeah. What was your experience watching Oppenheimer?
Yeah, no, I'm a Nolan fan. I really like Dunkirk, and I feel like
great.
Some people were like not as into Dunkirk because it was slower, I think. Getting into characters' heads and personal conflict and drama and choices, and that's something that I'm very interested in whenever I watch a film. Is, I'm also, love plot and excitement that way too, but if there's character motivation and character moments, I'm there for it. And so Oppenheimer definitely has a lot of that. You're literally getting his perspective on events. It's intense. It's intense, but it's fun. Just to kind of see Cillian Murphy nailed it, I think.
He was born to play this role, which is kind of funny because he was in the running for the miniseries that came out, I don't know, early 2000s, I think, for the Manhattan Project and everything. I'm glad it waited because I think he's probably a better actor now in having worked with Nolan and then finally being able to be like the lead of a Nolan movie. I think really helped shape this performance into something that's going to be in history books probably. Yeah. But you were talking about how it's very subjective and then more or less objective. And what's interesting is how it's black and white and color, and IMAX managed to make a black and white film stock, which is like the first time they've done that. So cool. All the black and white film stock is from Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss's, Admiral Strauss. And all that is fairly factual. I mean, of course there's like subjectivity, or of course there's pushing the limit and like what exactly was said and everything, but everything was based on
transcripts and things.
The transcripts and everything, and it was based on the book that won the Pulitzer Prize a couple years ago, American Prometheus. And all the color footage is directly from Oppenheimer's perspective. And again, a lot of stuff is like completely factual, but I really enjoy the subjective choices that Nolan chose. That kind of like pushed the limits for going inside his head, more or less. It's almost like the whole movie is uses the cross-cutting editing technique, where everything's going back and forth, except for a few localized scenes where we're just holding on to one conversation. And there's one particular conversation where Oppenheimer has with President Truman, and we're just like staying in the room. We're not cross-cutting anywhere else. And that's probably one of the best scenes, at least for me, in the movie. I think Gary Oldman plays President Truman, and he's amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of the supporting actors did a really good job and stood out in their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the first time I've ever seen Robert Downey Jr. as an unlikable character in a way that you're like, oh man, this guy kind of sucks, and it was because he did such a good job, it was kind of upsetting to watch, and his very subtle rage in some of these scenes where he's trying to control himself, and just his contempt when Oppenheimer would like say like an offhanded remark or kind of put his foot in his mouth was really interesting to watch because he was just it was a lot of acting that was showing things that were happening under the surface that was really fun to watch. So
definitely. What's one of your favorite scenes for Oppenheimer? It's hard to identify a particular scene because it cross cuts so often.
Yeah.
It's kind of like either a sequence or like a really small like conversation almost.
Touch on Emily Blunt's character real quick and how great a job she did when he gets home and the baby is crying and she's just like sitting there. I was like, oh god, like this is horrifying. And then the scene where they're watching the slideshow after they've seen what happened after they dropped the bomb, and just everyone's kind of watching their reactions was.
And just holding on Cillian Murphy's just face as he's just like not even looking at the slideshows. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, and then so I don't know that I have like a favorite, because it's kind of one of those movies where it feels like a very heavy serving of information and drama and complex emotions, and so the vibes at the end are like, oof, like I gotta go watch Barbie because
basically, yeah.
I feel a little emotionally drained. But it was all good, I think.
Yeah, my favorite scene with Emily Blunt is probably going to be the last real conversation where she's in the, it's not interrogation, the conference hall.
When they're having the deposition.
Yeah, the deposition with Jason Clarke, and just like
that guy sucks.
Jason Clarke is an amazing actor.
He did a great job, but I was like, God, I have been around people like this, and
seeing her hold her own against him was a lot of fun to watch. It's hard to talk about the movie without mentioning, the Trinity test scene. That whole sequence is just outstanding. For those who have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But for those who haven't, a choice that most people would have imagined is just like, oh, we're going to get this giant cacophony of explosion sounds and everything when it goes off. But what Nolan decided to do, and the sound designers and the editors decided to do, is it's just their own their own breathing, just bearing witness to this like holy shit kind of moment, and it's just phenomenally edited and directed and shot. It's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was an experience for sure.
Definitely. Well, let's transition over to Barbie real quick.
A different kind of experience.
The great thing about these two movies is that they're both equally well made, but completely different.
Yeah.
And Barbie is just like this 100% like joyful experience that's just like makes you feel a lot of like fun, heavy, sad, and emotions.
Yeah, there were moments that I missed because I was laughing so hard that I need to rewatch it because I think I missed some of the jokes. But I laughed and I cried, and I think any movie that can make you feel multiple emotions like that is, for me, a good time. So that's the same reason I really liked Everything Everywhere All at Once, was because there was the heart to it, this endearing center, but then there was also moments that were hilarious, and then there were gut-wrenching moments that were really tragic. And I feel like Barbie's the same way, where you can go in expecting it's not just this like mindless whatever, it's got depth to it, and it's got a lot of commentary in a way that is thought-provoking, but I don't think overly preachy. Mm-hmm. And it felt kind of like a gift that Greta made and like gave to people. It was just like, have this little spot of joy in your life, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Greta Gerwig, all the way back to Frances Ha, and then Lady Bird, and The Beautiful Little Women, and now Barbie and everything. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun seeing her like knock it out of the park once again. Yeah, but Barbie is... So I think one of the reasons why we didn't jump on tickets initially was I was a little trepidatious until like day of.
I was never trepidatious.
I know.
So just put that out there.
From what I did, did my best to not go into any of these movies knowing anything about them. Like I watched a trailer and that was it for me.
Yeah, we tend not to watch trailers if we know we're going to go see the movie because they put so much stuff in there.
Yeah. So I went in there with barely knowing anything. The only thing that I had happened to hear was like it's like a little bit like the Lego Movie, and I think that's, if you're calling it a little bit, yes, but like overall it's not.
Yeah, the only spoiler I kind of got was like a Wizard of Oz type of theme, and I could kind of see that.
But yeah, Margot Robbie is amazing. She was born to play this role.
Perfect casting.
Ryan Gosling is perfect casting.
Yes, yes. I love Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie even more after this movie. Because Ryan Gosling's another one that we watch a lot of his films. And
Honestly, I kind of want to say this is Ryan Gosling's best performance. It was amazing.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty great.
I almost want to argue he has a stronger, well, maybe stronger is probably is not the correct word. He has a more dynamic character arc in the film.
She goes from being a doll to being a human.
That's true.
That's pretty dynamic.
That's, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone, they're foils for each other, right? Barbie wouldn't have gone on her journey if it wasn't for Ken, and Ken wouldn't have gone on his journey
if it weren't for Barbie.
Yeah, so the story
solid.
wouldn't have existed in the same way for either of them if they were removed from that situation. So, and I don't think it would have been the same fun story if either was gone. But I will just say, I saw some things where it's like Barbie and Ken not together. That's so wrong. And canonically, in the Barbie lore, Barbara and Kenneth? I don't know if his. I think he's just Ken.
Barbara and Kenneth, yeah.
Have been broken up for a while now. They've never been married. They had one kind of fake wedding, but they've never. They haven't been together in a long time, so it's not that odd that Barbie wouldn't be that into Ken. I think it showed a lot of respect as someone that grew up playing with Barbies and watched.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, watched all of the Barbie animated movies. My mom collected Barbies.
Mm-hmm. So she had some rare ones once upon a time.
Yeah, she would do the whole thing where keep them in the box. And I think they referenced a couple of those in some of the montage scenes. Mm-hmm. So my sister and I would grew up playing with them, and we would play with them in the boxes. So we would just we would have our Barbies that we would play with, and then we'd have the fancy pretty Barbies that were in the boxes, but they would still be there too. They'd be hanging out. They would just be you weren't allowed to take them out of the box. But of course, now my older sister has kids. And so...
I just want to take them out of the box.
Well, now as a grandmother, she's just you can take them out of the box now. So the grandkids get to play with them, which I'm like, what? But yeah, so...
My sister had Barbies when we were growing up, and I had a Ken. And it kind of goes to show how...
Just the way you said that. I had a Ken.
I had a Ken. And it goes to show reflective of how Ryan Gosling was kind of pitched to the movie is how he saw his daughter playing with Ken and it was beneath a lemon, a squished lemon in the garden.
Yeah, his face down.
Yeah.
A squished lemon.
I mean, my buddy Dylan and I from the Arthur's Perfect Christmas episode, we dropped a rock on him when we were younger.
Oh my gosh.
So it kind of goes to show no one cared about Ken, and he's such a good character in the movie.
I think we had a Phoebus from Hunchback of Notre Dame, Ken.
I think we had that too. Yeah.
So he got a little more respect because he was from Disney IP, and we were yeah, I love Phoebus.
Yeah. So. We had a what's his name, John Smith.
Oh yeah.
From Pocahontas.
Yeah. I guess you couldn't go into some of the Disney IP Barbies. I didn't see any
loosely alluded public domain versions of those characters, more or less.
Yeah. I don't know how that... I mean, Mattel... Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Ken wasn't as cool as Barbie in that way, you know.
What's your favorite scene from Barbie?
That's a good question. The scene that made me laugh so hard that I missed a lot of it was Depression Barbie. Because...
It's a little too real.
As someone that loves Pride and Prejudice and Starburst, I just had that moment where it's that scene from Euphoria where you're is this play about us? So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed Kate McKinnon's character's weird Barbie. Mm. I never mistreated my Barbie dolls like that.
They were in boxes.
Yeah. It was more for their protection, actually, than the fact that they are valuable. No, my Barbie dolls I did not mistreat either. I never cut their hair. I always had a really weird connection with inanimate inanimate toys where I was like, I don't, like, I would be so sad if, like, anything happened to them or make them feel sad, like, hyper empathetic child.
Very Toy Story.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was very much, like, concerned about how they were feeling about things. So I would never go out of my way to draw on them or to cut their hair. My older sister did. She cut one of her Barbie's hair down to, like, the nub.
Oh, no.
And then hid the Barbie in shame in in a drawer. And my mom found it. She, like, opened up the drawer and it was just covered in hair. And she was like, what happened here? So yeah, so there has been Barbie violence in our house. So I could understand where that came from.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that was Kate McKinnon's character was just hilarious. Yeah, and then everything in the real world was actually really fun too. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of
America Ferrera was amazing.
Yeah, she did a great job. The whole cast was perfect. Margot Robbie crying, just like, you know, get you right in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was a perfect movie. It's gonna go on the like mental shelf of movies that if I'm like having a bad day, like I'm gonna want to watch it.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because it makes me happy. So
yeah, it's a toss up for my favorite scenes. I think it's gonna be either when they call out all the Godfather heads. That was hilarious. I was dying of, not shame, but just like, oh my God, that's me. I've done that. Not really, but more or less I have.
When Barbie and Ken are walking in the real world and Barbie's like, I'm afraid and I'm conscious about myself and there's like this undertone of violence and I don't know what's going on. And Ken's like, I'm not getting any of that. Like,
this is great.
Me and my sister were just like, oh my God, like, yeah. So it was, I think it's a good, for people that have empathy, if they want to go just kind of understand. And the whole thing had a lot of empathy towards all the characters, I feel like.
There's a sequence towards the end, I guess. It just kind of like played the Billie Eilish song over it, and it was like I think that's the scene that most people started tearing at, but I definitely teared up during that because it was just showing, I don't know, like sourced found footage of just women growing up, and it was just beautiful. So I really like that.
Yeah, I saw something where someone was talking about how, you know, about motherhood and how it's too focused on motherhood, and like I didn't interpret that as like, that was not like if we had kids like our kids playing. That was like me as like a little kid playing with Barbies, and Barbie is also, you know, canonically child free. So I feel like it's got stuff for moms and it's got stuff for women that are not moms.
They managed to Greta Gerwig managed to hit a bullseye for like so many different people, I think. Yeah. Which is very hard to do.
It's difficult to be unoffensive in a way that and appealing to the masses. Those are like two different check boxes, and also have depth to it. I think like you can make a really like surface level film that people will enjoy because there's no substance to that, but there was a lot of substance and a lot of heart, and I think it was for everyone that went in, and with you know, sincerity and good intentions to get something out of it and not with an agenda, and wanted to just see a good movie that they would have a good time and it would be a good experience for people. And I think it will be something that we discuss and continue to reference in our culture going forward. Yeah.
As we're wrapping up, what I will say is one of the thought pieces I had was how I knew I was going to watch both movies again, and I know we're going to be picking them both up on Blu-ray whenever they come out and everything, probably like Christmas of this year and stuff. I knew I wanted to watch I wanted to watch Oppenheimer one more time in theaters because I wanted to watch it in IMAX because the version we saw was just 70, which is like a crop 235 scale. I didn't feel the need to watch Barbie in theaters again, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever watch it again. I think it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's adorable and it's insightful, I think.
I was willing to go right back into the theater after I watched it and see it again. And the only reason that I haven't gone and see it again is because I'm waiting to go with my mom and she's got a busy schedule. Yeah. So
scheduling conflicts.
I will be going. I also pre-ordered the I Am Enough sweater, Ken Enough. I don't know how you say it. Is it a silent K that Ken wears at the end of the movie? I fully embraced the Kenergy and the experience. And
we watched it with, like I said earlier, we watched it with Mike, and I leaned over to him and was like, that's what it's going to sell like hotcakes. And lo and behold, it already is, which is great.
Yeah, I think within like 4 hours, I got home and I was like, am I going to get it? I'm going to get it. And I just like bought it.
We also pre-ordered the Oppenheimer script off Amazon, and it's already sold out. So who knows whenever I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I really want to read it.
Yeah, we paid money, so hopefully it'll actually show up at some point. It's just in limbo right now. So.
Yeah. Last thoughts, I suppose.
Yeah.
I was very doubtful that a 3-hour rated R movie was going to be successful in comparison to Barbie. Lo and behold, it is. It's managed to keep pressing on, and it managed to keep adding more 70mm IMAX screenings around the US, and I think that's a great thing. What I find with Oppenheimer compared to Barbie is that Oppenheimer is a movie that's very thoughtful and it's very heavy, and you could, I don't want to say it's a downer, but it's intimidating and it's a full meal kind of a movie, whereas Barbie is something that's, again, thoughtful, insightful, but a lot more entertaining, I think. And it has a lot more mass market appeal compared to, because it's PG-13 and it's like just over 2 hours and everything.
It's like having a pot roast versus a charcuterie board, you know? Like,
yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah,
it's like heavy. Like
so, I think if you're kind of having it be like Oppenheimer versus Barbie, I think technically Barbie won because it's like 2 hours and it's like super mass market appeal and it's PG-13, and then Oppenheimer is like 3 hours rated R and like really heavy historical subject. However, now that we're talking about this like almost a month later since the date, Oppenheimer still is kicking ass, and then Barbie's still kicking ass in theaters. So I think they're both neck and neck. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know that there's I guess ways you can measure success, but Barbie passed the $1 billion threshold, right? So making Greta Gerwig the first female director to join that billionaire club or whatever for movie making, and
she deserved it. She put in the work, and she deserves it based on
absolutely
reflecting on the quote in the movie and everything.
She does. She worked hard and she earned that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really uncomfortable to watch at first. Not because it's bad, but just because I have fully been socially, it's like uncomfortable to be like, I worked hard and acknowledge that you worked hard and earned something. But I think that was amazing to see. But yeah, no, I think it's hard to say who won because they're very different films, and I don't think there's really any winning. I think they both won in the sense that the directors and cast and crew and everyone worked really hard and made a entertaining film that told a story that was accessible to people. And I think film and storytelling is super critical to us as humans, and it gives us a chance to have insight into ourselves. And if there's any way people can go and reflect and think about things, and especially some of the heavier themes that Oppenheimer presented, and choices and progress and things like that, then yeah, they both won. Everybody won.
Couldn't have said it better myself. You could have a whole conversation going into every single minute of both movies, and it'd be a lot of fun. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Last words, last cap off for Barbenheimer.
Keep the Kenergy going.
Both soundtracks are great. We listened to the Barbie soundtrack on our way to vacation, for twice basically, and it was a lot of fun. And then the Oppenheimer soundtrack is great. Shout out to both of those scores. They're a hell of a lot of fun. All right, well, I'd say that's it for Take Time with Tom. Always rewind, but more importantly, be kind. Be enough kind. I don't know.
Canine?
Canine, yeah, sure. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.